Welcome to our 2020 Toyota Corolla 4-part mini-series. If you guys are regulars on our channel, you know we primarily build cars that are designed for performance. Modify them, take them to the track, but in the process, you might say we compromise their comfort, their usability as daily drivers. And so with the 2020 Corolla, we really wanted to take what is already a very fun and affordable, fuel-efficient car and add performance without overly compromising it as a true daily driver, as a car you could commute to work in, go get the groceries in, take your family to the park in, do all those things that you do with a four-door hatchback, but also be able to take it to the track, take it to an autocross, and actually have fun, go faster than you might in a fully stock configuration. So that's really our goal with the car. So I think for today's episode, Pete and I are going to jump in it, go for a rip around the racetrack, and really get a sense of what this car is all about from a performance standpoint, and decide what sort of modifications we might want to do to it.
So Dave, I actually had a chance to drive this car on the press launch, and I was very pleasantly surprised about the sporty nature of it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you know, it really is a true daily driver car. It was not meant to be used on the racetrack, but to be used commuting around and for fun-spirited driving. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of its intent goal, but overall, like it surprised me in terms of the crisp shifter and the pep of the motor. So I'd say it's a vehicle that you can certainly take out on the racetrack, but we're going to find out whether we can improve on that, right?
Yeah, and if I'm honest, I would say I was a little bit skeptical about how much sportiness they injected into this car, even though I was getting it from a person I consider a reliable source.
Yeah.
But having spent the last couple of weeks driving this, I've put like 1,200 kilometers on it now, including turning on the wipers. And I gotta say, I agree with you. It's a lot of fun to rip around in. It's got a nice power band. Like you have to be in the right gear for it to accelerate strongly. But when you are in the right gear, it really does pull strong.
Yeah, it doesn't have that lack of power, right, when you need it.
And more than that, it's tuned. The suspension is tuned in a way where it really does feel very responsive. It's got a lot of tire on it. It's got a big 225 4018 ultra high performance all season tire from Dunlop, which tells you they were pretty serious about making this car more fun than Corollas of the past. So I think it's really promising as a car that you can use both as a comfortable and practical daily driver, but still have a ton of fun in. I wouldn't call it a hot hatch, but we could certainly call it a warm hatch, and I think we're going to try to warm it up a little bit more with a little modification. But right now we're just kind of giving it a shakedown to see how it feels around the racetrack. I'm just sort of slowly adding some pace here, and so far so good.
Really good, yeah.
Like it does have body roll, as you'd expect with a car that has to be able to go over potholes and railroad tracks and all that stuff. But it's not excessive, is it?
No, it's got good composure by the looks of it.
And it's they got a little bit of understeer there, but not bad.
And how are the brakes?
The brakes are good. Like I really like the shifter feel. Actually, I think that's to me one of the standout features. Is it's got a really slick shifter.
For sure, it does.
But it's very light action too, so you can shift like with 2 fingers if you want to on the street. But it's still very precise. The steering is nice and light too. It's a very comfortable street car. It really, it's been designed to be a practical daily driver, but somehow it's still tuned in a way where it is really engaging to drive.
And it's also affordable, right?
Yeah. I think the base model starts around 21,000 Canadian, which would be well under 20 grand in America. Ours is an XSE package.
And it comes in this flame blue color?
Flame blue, yeah, I know. I love that name, Flame Blue. And I'm revving her out to almost 7K here. We're starting to get some aggression into it. The brakes feel good so far. Like typically with a car in this category, you'd get some brake fade pretty quickly because they're not equipped with a very aggressive brake pad.
Yeah.
But so far so good.
It's feeling real good, and it's got pep, man.
Yeah, the motor's rated to I think 168 horsepower. It's a 2-liter direct injection unit, and around town, like I said, as long as you have it in the right gear, it is zippy. It's properly quick. Gotta go down to second gear, speaking about being in the right gear.
Feels like the tires are fighting us, though.
Yeah, for sure. We're asking a lot of it around here. And I'm just sort of figuring out what gear I need to be in. But
and it is an all-season tire, right? 340 40 tread wear rating.
Yeah, which is aggressive for an all-season tire.
Yeah.
But we can certainly do better in the tire grip department, I would say. And I'm going to suggest we probably upgrade the brake pads and the brake fluid.
I think so.
I mean, that's just kind of the standard thing to do in any car that you're going to drive hard.
Yeah.
So,
and body roll wise, man, oh man, I feel like this thing's going to need some coilovers.
yeah, that seems like a logical next step too. I mean, I don't think we want to go with a crazy aggressive setup. We still want it to be comfortable on the street, right?
And I think we'll be able to find that. I know there's not a tremendous amount of aftermarket support yet for this car, but there are parts coming out and they're mainly focused for the street. So I think we'll be able to find that good medium.
A good balance
Because
there.
after all, we still want to make sure that this car is a daily driver, right?
Yeah.
I do like the interior quite a bit. I think it's very functional, not overly complicated, which I find a lot of cars are going to.
Yeah, yeah.
It's certainly like, I don't want to call it Spartan, but it's got that perfect amount of mix, like good quality interior,
Yeah.
not too busy. My one little gripe with it is the parking brake. It's like an electronic one,
parking brakes.
right?
Yeah, everyone's going to those now.
We don't drive enough new cars where I don't think I'm
That's
just
right.
used to it.
Yeah.
It kind of turns on when you come to a stop, or
When you turn the car off, it automatically puts it on, and you have to deliberately take it off with your foot on both the clutch and the brake.
The clutch and the brake.
So it takes a little getting used to, but I think once you figure it out, it's not too big of a deal. And I mean, it is nice that it goes on automatically because you're never going to accidentally coast backwards into something. So I get it, but yeah,
I miss the days, man.
Yeah.
The parking brakes are gone, so that's a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the styling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of blown away. Like the whole Toyota design philosophy has changed so much, and I personally love the way this car looks.
Oh, I think it looks awesome.
I don't think we're going to be touching too much on the exterior, but maybe a couple things. Like I think there's an optional spoiler that this comes with.
There is,
I think
yeah.
we should get because it makes this car really look aggressive.
Yeah, I like it too.
And there's a cool lip kit on the market, which I think we'll add. I mean, lowering this car, putting a proper set of wheels on it will certainly enhance the looks
really
in that
change
sense.
the look a lot. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Again, we don't want to go crazy low. We don't want to go crazy aggressive. We just want to make sure that we can upgrade the performance of this vehicle while still keeping it really civil. Right?
Yeah,
That's going to be the end goal of this project here.
Now that Pete and I have given you a quick driving impression of what the Corolla is like out on the racetrack, it's time to set a proper hot lap, and for that, I am going to record data with this Racepack Vantage CL2 data acquisition and lap timing system. As you can see, it is just a tiny little box here. It's actually a GPS unit in here, a 20 hertz chipset, so it records my position 20 times a second. It's very accurate, and that will allow us to determine our lap times as well as give us GPS data for acceleration forces, both lateral and longitudinal, all of which does not record on this unit. This just plugs into our OBD2 port, by the way, which also gives us access to all the data that this car has in its ECU. And this will work in any car that's 2008 or newer. And it'll send that data from here via Bluetooth to my cell phone. So I'll put my iPhone up here on the dash and I'll be able to see it functioning as a lap timer, but all the data that this records off of the OBD2 port, as well as off of its GPS chipset, will be recorded to my phone. And also, alternatively, if you sign up with one of Racepack's cloud accounts, it'll also go to the cloud where other people can access that data. So if Peter wants to watch how I'm doing on the track while it's live, he can actually jump on his phone and see the data live, or he can review it after the fact. So that's a quick rundown of our Racepack Vantage CL2 system. I'm going to install it now, which takes all of about 30 seconds, and then it's time to go rip some hot laps. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am holding the traction control button off for 5 seconds and see what happens. All right, looks like everything's turned off there. You can see on this fancy digital dash, it says VSC turned off, stability control turned off, traction control turned off. It is all off, which is always a good sign that a car will let you do that. It means the engineers were thinking about people like you and me actually driving it with some aggression. So here we go, out onto the friendly confines of Toronto Motorsports Park's 11-turn road course here. It is a nice, flat, safe road course where you really can't do any harm to your car. It's a great place to come and learn how to drive your car at a racetrack and learn the etiquette of it. And you can see our Racepack Vantage CL2 system is fired up here. That's just 16 seconds to cross the start-finish line, which is on the straightaway here. So I've just started my first time lap, although I'm going to treat this just as a basic warm-up lap here. cruise around to the front, and then I'll really let her rip. All right, here we come around to the last few corners here at TMP, and I am just putting a little bit of heat in the tires and brakes before we start our first hot lap here. And really my goal is just to get a good clean lap time in, a representative lap time for what this car can do in completely stock form. And from there, we'll go and start tuning it up. So, last two corners here. Downshift into second gear so I get a good launch on the front straight. I must say the pedal spacing is quite nice for heel and toe downshifts. Gonna just get on the gas nice and early here onto the front straight, and off we go. Shifting at 7,000 RPM. Got a couple of cars out in front of us here, which hopefully won't interfere with my attack on time too hard here. All right, hard onto the brakes down into turn one. Chuck it into turn one here. Power out of the corner. Let's see what we got. Oh, I'm hard on the rev limiter there. I got to shift a little earlier there. Maybe I need third gear through turn one. It doesn't have a limited slip differential, which I can definitely feel coming out of the corners. If I get on the throttle too aggressively, it does a little bit of a one-wheel peel. But you can definitely control that just by using your right foot appropriately, not going like full mash on the throttle. You got to kind of squeeze the throttle on to deliver that power more smoothly. Getting the point by from the Miata here. Look at that, everybody. Corolla just got its first kill. I love it. Back down into second gear here. And we got a little bit of understeer here, but it's not bad. Very manageable. I think we can fix that a little bit with some coilovers, but it is still a ton of fun to drive in stock form. And the nice thing about the stock suspension is that you can use the curbs without upsetting the car too much, so I can get a little aggressive with it if I want to. Through the S's here, and it really is hanging in really well. These tires are taking a beating and they're not complaining too much. A little bit of rough pavement there in turn 6, but the car soaks it up well. And on the front straight for our last hot lap. Let's see how we do. Come on, Corolla. Come on, baby. All right, guys, that is it for my 3 hot laps in the Corolla. And I gotta say, I had a lot of fun, and the lap times are pretty decent. I did a best lap time of a 1:33.19, and the other 2 hot laps were very close to that. I think I did a 33.4 and a 33.3 or something like that. So I did praise the car on its first and second laps for how strong the brakes were hanging in there, because they're really not designed for this kind of punishment. But then on the third lap, the pedal did start to get longer and softer. So we know that these brakes are good for 2 hot laps around here, but not so much for 3. So that's definitely something we're going to want to address. A couple of interesting metrics that we'll look at now when the car is 100% stock to compare to after we've modified it is our top speed up the front straightaway. So if I scroll over here to the top of the speed graph here, I can see I hit 148.1 kilometers per hour. And then if I look at peak Gs, it looks like I hit peak Gs in the very last corner of 0.98 Gs. So I'm pretty sure we're going to beat both of those numbers after we do some upgrades on the car, but that's a good baseline. So I think maybe it's time that we pack up our stuff, go for a drive home, and talk a little bit more about how the car drives on the street.
Well, now that the track portion is done, we are cruising home and in more comfort than we're usually used to.
Yeah, that's right. It is an awfully nice ride quality. It's also got radar cruise control, so it's like adaptive cruise. It'll match the speed of the car in front of you. It's got a lot of technology. It's got Toyota's safety sense, so again, if it suspects you're in danger, it'll do what it can to like apply the brakes and even do a little steering with the brake application.
Right, gotcha.
It's got a whole bunch of technology.
So a bunch of like safety stuff too. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of technology packed into modern cars that we're not that used to, are we?
No, and what I really like is that huge screen here. I think it's like 7 inches, right, DP?
Oh, the main gauge
display
cluster. Yeah,
gauge,
it's a
yeah.
7-inch TFT screen, which you can scroll through on with the buttons on the left there. And it'll
gives you, there's my lane departure, there's a whole bunch of stuff, audio,
yeah, fuel economy,
trip, yeah, and then
vehicle settings,
all the vehicle sensor setup, so it's pretty neat. I like that.
And as far as fuel efficiency goes, I've put almost 1,300 or over 1,300 kilometers on it now.
Yeah.
And prior to the track test, we were averaging 6.8 liters per 100 kilometers.
Yeah.
Which that's an average number for both highway and city. And that's better than the numbers they advertised.
Wow,
They
that's
advertised with the manual gearbox, they averaged 7.5. And I hit 6.8, and I wasn't like babying it by any means. So impressive fuel efficiency.
And look, we're still under 8 liters for 100 kilometers after the racetrack.
Yeah, we're pretty much at their advertised average with a bunch of laps at the track.
A full thrashing, yeah.
It's pretty impressive overall. And I don't know how you feel about these central dash big infotainment units these days. All the manufacturers are using them. I mean, it does give you a lot of information at your fingertips, but it's also a big thing here in the middle of the dash that
I agree.
I'm not that used to yet, I guess. I'm accustomed to being built in down
it
here.
is jarring to a certain extent, but you get a huge screen, which is what I think a lot of people want.
Yeah.
So,
and you can access all of your audio via Bluetooth with Apple CarPlay or Android. What's the Android one called again? I forget. Whatever you Android guys use, it's compatible with that too. So.
Well, DP, let's see what this thing's got for power.
Yeah.
We're gonna pass the smart car, and
the smart
as you
car.
can see, good get up and go for the city driving there.
Yeah.
Get that pass very easily.
It surprises me how willing it is to accelerate when you're in the right gear. It's really good around town that way, and even accelerating onto the highway, as long as you're not in too high a gear, it really merges very nicely. And I think we're gonna call this one a wrap, aren't we?
I think so, yeah.
We've given this thing a pretty good shakedown for a first try, and stay tuned for the next episode where we're gonna unleash all those modifications, bolt those all up in one.
We got a lot of good stuff. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. One big party of wrenching, and then back to the racetrack for more of this. And we are coming up on a Jeep Cherokee on a racetrack. You don't see that every day. Kill number 2, everybody. We are killing it out here.